The clock on the kitchen wall showed 2:47 a.m. when Rachel felt her daughter's forehead again. It was burning hot, hotter than it had been an hour ago. Little Lily, just 3 years old, lay curled up on the couch, her small chest rising and falling in quick, shallow breaths. Her cheeks were flushed red and tiny beads of sweat covered her forehead despite the cold air seeping through the windows. Rachel had been awake since yesterday morning. 32 hours without sleep. Her eyes burned, her head pounded, and every muscle in her body ached. But none of that mattered right now. All that mattered was the sick child in her arms. She reached for her phone and dialed the clinic again. The automated message played for the 5th time that night. "We are currently closed due to severe weather conditions. If this is a medical emergency, please call 911 or visit the nearest hospital." Rachel's hands shook as she ended the call. She had already tried 911. They told her the same thing they'd told her 2 hours ago. The roads were completely blocked. The winter storm had dumped 3 feet of snow across the county in just 6 hours. Snowplows couldn't keep up. Ambulances were stuck responding to accidents on the highway. They promised someone would come as soon as possible, but they couldn't say when. The nearest hospital was 40 minutes away on a good day. In this weather, it might as well have been on another planet. Rachel looked out the window at her car sitting in the driveway, buried under snow. Even if the roads were clear, it wouldn't matter. The car had broken down 2 days ago. Something about the transmission, the mechanic had said. He was supposed to fix it next week. Next week felt like a lifetime away now. She thought about her husband, Tom, stationed somewhere overseas. She tried calling him earlier, but the call wouldn't go through. Time zones, military operations, whatever the reason, he was unreachable. He didn't even know his baby girl was sick. He didn't know his wife was falling apart, trying to hold everything together with trembling hands. Rachel wiped her eyes. She couldn't fall apart, not now. Lily needed her. The little girl stirred and whimpered. "Mama, I'm cold." Rachel pulled another blanket over her daughter, then another. The house was cold. The heating system struggled to keep up with the dropping temperatures outside. The thermometer by the door read 18 degrees. Inside, it felt barely warmer than 50. She had called everyone she could think of. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, 2 houses down, was 76 years old and couldn't drive in good weather, let alone this storm. The Johnsons across the street had left 2 days ago to visit family for the holidays. The Rodriguezes on the corner had their own emergency. Their basement was flooding from a burst pipe. Rachel's parents lived 6 hours away in another state. Her sister was in California. Tom's family was even farther. There was nobody close enough to help. The support group. She remembered the military family support group she'd joined when Tom deployed. They had a phone tree for emergencies. She scrolled through her contacts with numb fingers and found the number. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. She tried another number. Then another. Everyone was dealing with the storm. One woman answered, crying, saying her power had been out for 8 hours and she was huddled in her basement with her 3 kids. Another said she'd try to help, but her own car was stuck at the bottom of her driveway. Rachel set the phone down and looked at Lily. The little girl's breathing sounded wrong, raspy, labored, like every breath took too much effort. Fear gripped Rachel's chest like a vice. She knew that sound. Her nephew had pneumonia once, years ago. He'd made that same sound before they rushed him to the hospital. She couldn't wait anymore. Someone had to see them. Someone had to help. Rachel made a decision that seemed crazy even as she made it. She would take Lily and wait by the main road. It was a 1/4 mile from their house down their long rural driveway. The main road had to be cleared eventually. Emergency vehicles, snowplows, somebody would come through. When they did, she would flag them down. It was risky. It was freezing outside. But staying here, waiting for help that might never come, felt even more dangerous. She gathered every blanket in the house. She dressed Lily in layers, pajamas, sweatpants over those, 2 sweaters, her winter coat, hat, mittens, scarf. She wrapped her in a thick quilt. Then she dressed herself the same way, pulling on boots and her heaviest coat. Her phone was down to 8% battery. She slipped it in her pocket anyway. Rachel picked up her daughter, feeling how light she was, how fragile. Lily barely stirred. That scared Rachel more than anything. She opened the front door and the cold hit her like a physical blow. The wind howled, cutting through her layers like they were paper. Snow still fell, lighter now than before, but steady. Rachel stepped off the porch and into the snow. It came up past her knees. Each step was a struggle. Lily grew heavier in her arms with every yard. The driveway stretched ahead like an endless white tunnel. She focused on putting one foot in front of the other. Left foot, right foot. Left foot, right foot. Her breath came in clouds. Her face went numb. Her fingers ached even inside her gloves. 20 minutes later, she reached the main road. It was empty. No tire tracks. No signs that anyone had been through here in hours. Rachel looked both ways down the road. Nothing but snow and darkness and silence. She positioned herself where she'd be visible from both directions. She held Lily close, trying to share what little warmth she had. The child was so quiet now. Too quiet. "Stay with me, baby," Rachel whispered. "Help is coming." Mama's going to make sure help comes. The wind picked up. Rachel turned her back to it, shielding Lily as best she could. She started singing. Lullabies at first, then nursery rhymes, then Christmas carols. Anything to keep herself awake, to keep Lily aware that her mother was there. An hour passed, then another. The sky remained dark. No headlights appeared. No sounds of engines. Just wind and cold and the soft sound of falling snow. Rachel's phone died. The cold had drained the battery. She kept singing, her voice growing hoarse. She bounced gently, trying to keep their blood moving. Her legs trembled from exhaustion and cold. Her back screamed from holding Lily for so long. She wanted to sit down, to rest, but she knew if she sat down in this cold, she might not get back up. Around 4 in the morning, Lily's fever seemed to spike higher. Rachel could feel the heat radiating from her daughter even through all the blankets. The little girl's breathing grew more labored. She whimpered but didn't open her eyes. "No, no, no," Rachel heard herself saying. "Please, somebody, anybody, please help us," her voice cracked. Tears froze on her cheeks. She screamed into the darkness, into the wind, a raw, desperate sound that tore from her throat. "Help! Somebody help us, please." The wind swallowed her voice. The road remained empty. The darkness pressed in from all sides. Rachel held her daughter and prayed like she'd never prayed before. She prayed to God, to the universe, to anyone who might be listening. She begged for a miracle. She promised anything, everything if someone would just come. If someone would just help her save her baby girl. The night dragged on. The cold seeped deeper. Rachel's exhaustion became something beyond tiredness, beyond pain. She operated on pure will now, pure love, a mother's refusal to give up. And then, just as the first hint of dawn began to lighten the eastern sky, she heard something. A sound. Distant but unmistakable engines. Rachel's heart stopped for a moment, then started racing. She strained her ears, afraid she'd imagined it. But no, there it was again. The low rumble of engines, multiple engines, growing louder. She squinted into the gray dawn light. Nothing yet, but the sound was real. "It was coming from the west, from town. Did you hear that, Lily?" Rachel whispered, her voice barely working. "Someone's coming. Help is coming, baby." Lily didn't respond. She felt so limp in Rachel's arms. Too limp. Rachel adjusted her grip, feeling panic claw at her chest. How long had they been out here? 4 hours? 5? Time had stopped meaning anything somewhere around 3 a.m. The rumbling grew louder. Rachel tried to move toward the middle of the road, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. They'd gone stiff from standing so long in the cold. She stumbled, nearly fell, caught herself. Every movement sent sharp pains through her body. Then she saw them. Lights. Multiple sets of headlights cutting through the early morning dimness. Rachel tried to wave, but her arms felt like lead. She tried to shout, but only a croak came out. Terror seized her. What if they didn't see her? What if they drove right past? She forced herself forward into the road, waving one arm while clutching Lily with the other. "Stop!" The word ripped from her throat. "Please stop!" The lead vehicle's headlights found her. Brake lights flared red. The rumbling changed pitch as the vehicle slowed. Rachel's knees buckled. She managed to stay upright, swaying, holding Lily against her chest. The world tilted and spun. The first truck came to a complete stop about 20 feet away. It was military, a big transport vehicle with a canvas cover over the back. Behind it, more trucks, at least 5 or 6, all military, all stopping in sequence. Doors opened. Boots hit the pavement. Rachel saw figures moving toward her, but her vision was blurring. Everything seemed to be happening in slow motion and too fast at the same time. Ma'am, are you okay?" A young soldier appeared in front of her. He couldn't have been more than 22 or 23. His face showed shock, then immediate concern. "My daughter," Rachel managed to say. "She's sick, fever, can't breathe, right? I need hospital. Please." Another soldier appeared, older, with a medic patch on his sleeve. "Let me see her," he said, his voice calm and professional. He reached for Lily. Rachel didn't want to let go. Her arms had been holding her daughter for so long. They'd locked in place. The medic gently pried her grip loose. "It's okay, Mom, I've got her. I'm going to help her." The moment Lily left her arms, Rachel felt herself falling. The young soldier caught her, lowering her to sit on the cold pavement. "Get the captain," someone shouted, "and get some blankets out here." Now more soldiers surrounded them. Rachel watched through a haze as the medic laid Lily on a blanket someone had spread on the ground. He checked her pulse, listened to her breathing, felt her forehead. "She's burning up," he said. "Respiratory distress. Possible pneumonia. We need to get her warm and get her to a hospital fast. Ma'am, can you tell me your name?" The young soldier crouched beside Rachel. His name tag said Peterson. "Rachel. Rachel Bennett. My husband, he's deployed. Tom Bennett. I couldn't. The roads. It's okay. You're safe now. We've got you." Peterson wrapped a thick blanket around her shoulders. The warmth felt like fire against her frozen skin. A commanding voice cut through the chaos. "What's the situation?" Rachel looked up to see an officer striding toward them, older than the others, maybe 40, with sharp eyes that took in everything at once. "Sir, civilian mother and child. Exposure to cold for several hours. Child has high fever and respiratory issues. Mother is hypothermic and exhausted." The officer knelt beside Rachel. "Ma'am, I'm Captain Williams. You said your husband is deployed?" Rachel nodded, her teeth chattering so hard she could barely speak. Fort Carson. Sergeant Tom Bennett." Something changed in the captain's expression. Recognition, maybe. Or just the understanding that she was a military family. "We're going to take care of you and your daughter. That's a promise." He stood and started giving orders. "Garcia, get the medical transport heated up and ready to move. Henderson, radio ahead to County General. Tell them we're coming in hot with a pediatric emergency. Davidson, I want updates on road conditions to the hospital. Move, people." The soldiers jumped into action with practiced efficiency. The medic, whose name patch read Garcia, carefully wrapped Lily in what looked like a special thermal blanket. Another soldier brought a stretcher. "She's not responding much," Garcia said quietly to the captain. "Her oxygen levels are low. I'm going to start her on supplemental oxygen in the transport." Rachel tried to stand. She needed to be with Lily. She needed to. Peterson caught her as she swayed. "Easy, ma'am. Let's get you into the warm truck first." "No, I need..." "Lily, your daughter is going in the medical transport. It's heated and has equipment to help her. You'll be right behind her in another vehicle, 2 minutes behind max. I promise." Captain Williams appeared beside her. "Mrs. Bennett, my medic is one of the best. He's going to stabilize your daughter during transport, but I need you to let us get you warmed up too. Your daughter needs you healthy when we get to the hospital. Can you trust us to do our jobs?" Rachel looked at his face. He had kind eyes, competent eyes, eyes that had probably seen his own kids sick at home while he was deployed. She nodded. They helped her to one of the transport trucks. Inside, it was blessedly warm. 2 soldiers helped her up into the cabin. One of them, a woman with corporal stripes, immediately started checking her vital signs. "I'm Corporal Hayes," she said. "I'm going to check you over while we drive, okay? What's your first name?" "Rachel." "Okay, Rachel. You did good out there. You held on. Your little girl is lucky to have such a strong mama." Tears started flowing down Rachel's face. She couldn't stop them. All the fear, all the exhaustion, all the terror of the long night came pouring out. Hayes didn't tell her not to cry. She just handed her tissues and kept her warm hand on Rachel's shoulder while checking her temperature with the other. The convoy started moving. Through the window, Rachel could see the medical transport ahead of them. Lily inside with Garcia. "How far to the hospital?" Rachel asked. "Roads are rough but passable now that the snow stopped. Captain says 30 minutes, maybe less. He's been on the radio with the hospital. They're getting a full team ready for your daughter." Why were you on this road?" Hayes smiled. "We're a disaster relief convoy. Been mobilized to help with storm recovery. We left base at dawn. First units to move once command cleared us. Guess we were in the right place at the right time." Rachel closed her eyes. "Right place. Right time. It felt like more than coincidence. It felt like the answer to all those prayers she'd screamed into the darkness. "Your husband," Hayes said. "Sergeant Bennett at Fort Carson. Once we get to the hospital, Captain will get word to him. We'll make sure he knows what's happening. He doesn't even know she's sick. He doesn't know any of this. He'll know soon. And he'll know his wife is a fighter, standing out in that cold all night, not giving up. That takes real courage." Rachel shook her head. "It wasn't courage. It was just, I couldn't lose her. I couldn't give up." "That's what courage is," Hayes said simply. "Doing what needs to be done even when you're terrified." The truck hit a rough patch and bounced. Rachel winced. Every part of her body hurt. Her fingers were starting to thaw, sending sharp needles of pain through them. Her face felt like it was on fire as circulation returned. Peterson, driving the truck, spoke up. "Medical transport is reporting patient stable. Garcia says her oxygen levels are improving." Relief flooded through Rachel. Stable. Improving. Those were good words. "How long were you out there?" Hayes asked gently. "Since about 2:30 a.m., maybe earlier. I lost track." Hayes and Peterson exchanged looks. "That's 4.5 hours in 18-degree weather," Hayes said. "You're incredibly lucky. Both of you." "Lucky," Rachel almost laughed. She'd felt anything but lucky standing in that freezing darkness. But looking at these soldiers, at their genuine concern, at their professional efficiency, maybe lucky was the right word after all. "Thank you," Rachel whispered. "Thank you all so much." "No thanks needed," Peterson said from the driver's seat. "We take care of our own. Military families look out for each other." Through the window, dawn was breaking properly now. The sky turned from gray to pale pink. The storm had passed completely. The world looked clean and white and new, and ahead the medical transport carrying her baby girl was racing toward help. The hospital came into view after what felt like both forever and no time at all. Rachel pressed her face against the window, trying to see the medical transport ahead. It was already pulling up to the emergency entrance where a team of people in scrubs waited outside. "They're ready for her," Peterson said, guiding their truck right behind the medical vehicle. Before their truck even stopped completely, Hayes had the door open. She and Peterson helped Rachel down. Her legs still didn't want to work right. Everything felt disconnected, like her brain was giving commands her body couldn't follow. The back doors of the medical transport flew open. Garcia jumped out first, then helped guide the stretcher as two other soldiers carefully lowered it. Hospital staff swarmed immediately. Rachel caught a glimpse of Lily still wrapped in blankets, an oxygen mask over her small face. "Lily!" Rachel tried to move forward, but her legs gave out. Hayes caught her. "I've got you. Come on, let's get you inside too." A nurse appeared with a wheelchair. Rachel wanted to refuse it, wanted to walk on her own power, but her body had other ideas. She collapsed into the chair. "Mom needs evaluation too," Hayes told the nurse. "Exposure, hypothermia, extreme exhaustion." "We'll take care of her," the nurse said. She was older, with gray streaks in her hair and kind eyes behind her glasses. "Honey, I'm Nurse Brennan. We're going to get you checked out while the doctors help your little girl. I need to be with her. I need to see her. The doctors are already working. Let us make sure you're okay, then we'll get you to her. Deal?" Rachel nodded numbly. She didn't have the energy to argue. They wheeled her through the emergency room doors. The warmth inside hit her like a wave. After so many hours in the cold, the heated building felt almost overwhelming. The bright lights hurt her eyes. Captain Williams appeared beside the wheelchair as they moved through the hallways. "Mrs. Bennett, I'm going to stay until we hear something about your daughter. My team will be here. You're not alone." "You don't have to," Rachel started. "I know we don't have to," he said simply. "But we're going to." They took her to a small examination room. Nurse Brennan helped her out of all the layers of frozen clothing. Rachel's fingers were swollen and red. Her toes were worse. When Brennan gently removed her socks, Rachel gasped at the sight of her feet. They were ghostly white with patches of red and purple. "Frostbite," Rachel whispered. "Mild frostbite on your toes. We'll treat it. You'll be okay." Brennan wrapped her in warm blankets and started an IV line. "This is going to warm you from the inside. Just sit tight." A doctor came in, young but thorough. He checked her temperature, her heart rate, looked at her hands and feet, asked a dozen questions. "How long outside? What symptoms? Any numbness? Pain? Confusion?" Rachel answered on autopilot. All she could think about was Lily in some other room with doctors she didn't know. Mrs. Bennett, the doctor said, making eye contact. You're going to be fine. You were very lucky. Another hour out there and we'd be having a different conversation. But you're going to recover fully. Your daughter, however, is critical. They've taken her upstairs to pediatric intensive care. As soon as we finish here, we'll take you up. Critical. The word hit Rachel like a punch. Is she? Will she? They're doing everything they can. The fact that you got her here when you did matters. Every minute mattered. Brennan squeezed Rachel's shoulder. Dr. Patel is the best pediatrician we have. Your girl is in good hands. They finished their examination, wrapped her feet and hands in special bandages, gave her warm liquids to drink, made her eat a few crackers even though she insisted she wasn't hungry. Your body needs fuel, Brennan said firmly. You've been through trauma. You need to keep your strength up for your daughter. After 30 minutes that felt like 30 hours, they finally wheeled Rachel to the elevator. Captain Williams and Hayes rode up with her. Peterson had stayed downstairs with the rest of the unit. The pediatric intensive care unit was on the 4th floor. It was quieter than the emergency room. The walls were painted with colorful murals of animals and clouds. Someone had tried to make it less scary for kids, but Rachel's heart pounded as they approached the nurses' station. A doctor in blue scrubs came out to meet them. She was middle-aged with sharp, intelligent eyes. Mrs. Bennett, I'm Dr. Patel. I've been treating your daughter. Rachel gripped the arms of the wheelchair. How is she? She has pneumonia in both lungs. It's severe. We have her on oxygen and IV antibiotics. Her fever is slowly coming down. The next 24 hours are critical, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Can I see her? Of course. But I need to prepare you. She's on several machines. It looks scarier than it is. The equipment is helping her breathe easier and monitoring her constantly. She's sedated right now so her body can rest and heal. They wheeled Rachel to a small room. Through the glass window, she could see Lily lying in a hospital bed that looked far too big for her small body. Tubes and wires connected her to various machines. The steady beep of a heart monitor filled the air. Rachel's tears came again, silent and heavy. Can I go in? She asked. Absolutely, Dr. Patel said. You can sit with her. Talk to her. Even though she's sedated, she'll know you're there. Hayes helped Rachel out of the wheelchair. Her legs worked better now, enough to shuffle slowly into the room. A nurse inside smiled and pulled a chair close to the bed. Rachel sat down and carefully took Lily's small hand in hers. It felt warm now, not burning with fever like before, but normally warm. That had to be a good sign. I'm here, baby, Rachel whispered. Mama's here. You're safe now. You're going to be okay. The machines beeped steadily. Lily's chest rose and fell with help from the oxygen. But she was breathing. She was alive. Rachel lost track of time again. She just sat there holding her daughter's hand, watching her breathe. At some point, someone brought her a cup of coffee. She drank it without tasting it. Captain Williams appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Bennett? May I come in? Rachel nodded. He stepped inside quietly, respectfully. I wanted to let you know we reached your husband. It took some doing, but we got through to his commanding officer. Sergeant Bennett is being granted emergency leave. He'll be on a flight home within the next few hours. Fresh tears streamed down Rachel's face. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's more, Williams said. My unit. We're going to be in the area for the next week doing storm recovery. We've arranged to take shifts checking on you. Someone will be here if you need anything. Food, coffee, someone to talk to. Whatever you need. You don't have to do that. With respect, ma'am, yes we do. Your husband is one of ours. That makes you and your daughter one of ours, too. We don't leave our people hanging. Hayes poked her head in. Captain, Peterson got her car towed to a garage. They're going to fix the transmission. No charge. When they heard the story, they insisted. Rachel couldn't speak. The kindness was overwhelming. A different nurse came in to check Lily's vital signs. She smiled at Rachel. Her oxygen levels are improving steadily. Her fever's down another degree. She's fighting hard, this little one. She gets that from her mama, Hayes said softly. The morning wore on. Doctors came and went. Nurses adjusted machines and checked monitors. Captain Williams stayed for another hour before he had to rejoin his unit, but Hayes remained, sitting quietly in the corner. Around noon, Dr. Patel returned. I have good news. Your daughter is responding well to treatment. If she continues improving at this rate, we'll be able to reduce her oxygen support by this evening. So she's going to be okay? Barring any complications, yes. She's going to be okay. It'll take time. She'll need to stay here for several days, but she's fighting and winning. Rachel laid her head down on the edge of Lily's bed, still holding her hand. The exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. She'd been running on pure adrenaline and fear for so long. Now that she knew Lily would be okay, her body finally gave itself permission to feel how tired it really was. "You should rest," Hayes said. "There's a room for parents right next door. I'll stay with Lily. I can't leave her. You'll be 10 feet away. And I promise if anything changes, I'll get you immediately. You're no good to her if you collapse." Rachel knew she was right. Her body was shutting down whether she wanted it to or not. "Okay," she whispered. "Just for a little while." Hayes helped her to the parent room. It had a small cot, a chair, and a window. Rachel lay down, still wearing the hospital gown they'd given her. She thought she wouldn't be able to sleep. Her mind was too full, her heart too raw. But the moment her head touched the pillow, darkness pulled her under. For the first time in 36 hours, Rachel slept. Rachel woke to the sound of someone saying her name softly. For a moment, she had no idea where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The storm, the freezing night, the convoy. Lily. She sat up so fast her head spun. Hayes was standing in the doorway. "It's okay," Hayes said quickly. "Lily's fine. Better, actually. But you have a visitor." Rachel's heart jumped. "Tom," Hayes smiled. "He just got here." Rachel practically ran out of the room, her bare feet cold on the tile floor. She rushed back to Lily's room, and there he was. Tom, still in his uniform, his duffel bag dropped by the door, standing next to their daughter's bed with tears streaming down his face. "Tom," Rachel breathed. He turned and in 2 steps had her in his arms. Rachel buried her face in his chest and sobbed. He held her tight, one hand cradling the back of her head, and she felt all the fear and loneliness and terror of the past day finally have a place to go. "I'm here," he kept saying. "I'm here now. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I wasn't here." They stood like that for a long time, just holding each other. When Rachel finally pulled back, she saw that Hayes had quietly left, giving them privacy. "How did you get here so fast?" Rachel asked. Captain Williams pulled some serious strings. "Got me on a military transport that was already heading stateside. They rerouted to get me closer. Then a helicopter brought me the rest of the way." Tom looked at Lily, his face crumpling again. "Rach, they told me what you did. Standing out there all night in the freezing cold. You could have died. I couldn't let her die. I couldn't just sit in that house and do nothing. You're the bravest person I know." He kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then her lips. "The absolute bravest." Dr. Patel came in then, knocking softly. "I thought I heard voices. You must be Sergeant Bennett." "Yes, ma'am. How's my daughter?" "She's doing remarkably well. We've already reduced her oxygen support. Her fever broke about an hour ago. Her lungs are responding to the antibiotics. If she continues at this rate, we might be able to move her out of intensive care tomorrow." Tom's knees actually buckled. Rachel caught him, which would have been funny under different circumstances. This big, strong soldier nearly fainting from relief. Can I touch her?" Tom asked. "Of course. She's your daughter. Just be gentle around the IV lines." Tom approached the bed like he was approaching something sacred. He carefully took Lily's other hand, the one Rachel wasn't holding, and brought it to his lips. "Hey, baby girl."
"Daddy's here?"
"Daddy's home." Rachel watched her husband and daughter and felt something break open in her chest. They'd made it. They'd actually made it through. Over the next few hours, a steady stream of visitors came by. Captain Williams returned with Peterson and 3 other soldiers from the convoy. They brought flowers, stuffed animals, and a care package filled with snacks and coffee. "For the long hospital nights," Peterson explained, looking shy. "My mom always said hospital coffee is terrible." "Your mom was right," Rachel said with a watery smile. The soldiers didn't stay long. They had work to do. But before they left, Captain Williams pulled Tom aside. Rachel could see them talking quietly, could see Tom nodding, his expression serious and grateful. After they left, Tom told her what Williams had said. "He told me that most soldiers never meet the families they impact through their service. He said it was an honor to be able to help us directly. He also said," Tom's voice caught, "he said you showed the kind of courage they try to instill in soldiers. That any unit would be lucky to have someone like you." Rachel shook her head. "I was just a scared mom trying to save her kid." "That's exactly what courage is," Tom said, echoing what Hayes had told her. By evening, Lily began to stir. Her eyes fluttered open, confused and groggy. She saw the oxygen mask and reached for it weakly. "Hey, sweetie, leave that on," Rachel said softly. "It's helping you breathe." Lily's eyes found her mother's face, then her father's. "Daddy?" Her voice was tiny and hoarse. "Yeah, baby, Daddy's here." Tom was crying again. "I was sick," Lily whispered. "You were very sick, but you're getting better now." Cold, it was so cold. Rachel and Tom exchanged glances. How much did she remember? "You're warm now," Rachel assured her. "Nice and warm and safe." Lily's eyes started to close again. "Love you, Mama. Love you, Daddy. We love you too, sweetheart. So much." She drifted back to sleep, but it was different now. Not the deep sedation from before, but real sleep. Healing sleep. Dr. Patel stopped by during her evening rounds. "This is excellent progress. I'm very pleased. At this rate, she'll be out of here in 3 or 4 days." 3 or 4 days felt like nothing compared to what Rachel had feared. That night, Tom insisted Rachel go home to shower and change clothes. She'd been in the same clothes or hospital gowns for over a day. "I can't leave her," Rachel protested. "I'll be right here. I'm not going anywhere." And Hayes texted, "She and Peterson are switching off, staying nearby. We've got backup if anything happens, which it won't." Rachel finally agreed. Tom drove her home in the rental car the military had arranged for them. When they pulled up to the house, Rachel stared at it. Was it really just yesterday morning that everything had fallen apart? Inside, the house was cold. Tom immediately got the heat going while Rachel stood in the kitchen, looking at the clock that had marked that terrible 2:47 a.m. "Come on," Tom said gently. "Let's get you cleaned up." The hot shower felt like heaven. Rachel stood under the spray until the water started to run cold. She dressed in clean clothes, real clothes, and it felt like putting on armor. She was ready to face whatever came next. They grabbed clothes for Tom and some of Lily's favorite stuffed animals, then headed back to the hospital. The roads were mostly clear now. Crews had been working around the clock. Life was returning to normal for everyone else, but Rachel's life would never be quite normal again. She'd seen too much, felt too much, come too close to losing everything. Back at the hospital, Lily was awake again. Really awake this time. She was asking for water and complaining about the IV in her arm, which Dr. Patel said were both excellent signs. "Mama, can we go home?" Lily asked. "Soon, baby. You need to get stronger first. I want my own bed." "I know, sweetie, soon." Over the next 2 days, Lily improved steadily. They moved her out of intensive care into a regular pediatric room. The oxygen came off. The IV came out. She started eating real food, though not much at first. Rachel and Tom took turns sleeping in the chair beside her bed. Hayes and Peterson visited every day, sometimes bringing other soldiers from the unit. They brought coloring books and puzzles for Lily. They made her laugh with silly jokes. The local news somehow got wind of the story. A reporter showed up asking for an interview. Rachel declined, but Tom spoke briefly with them, making sure to credit the convoy that had saved his family. The next day, the story ran in the newspaper and on the local TV station. Military convoy saves mother and child after night-long vigil and storm. Rachel's phone started buzzing with messages from friends and family she hadn't heard from in years. The support group she'd tried calling that terrible night organized a meal train for when they got home. Neighbors she barely knew dropped off gift cards and offers to help. "People are so kind," Rachel said to Tom, overwhelmed by the outpouring. "You gave them something to root for," he said, "a story with a happy ending. People need that sometimes." On the 3rd day, Dr. Patel gave them the news they'd been waiting for. "You can take her home tomorrow morning. She'll need to finish the antibiotics and take it easy for a couple weeks. Follow up with her regular pediatrician in a week." "But she's ready," Rachel cried happy tears. Tom picked up Lily, tubes and wires finally gone, and spun her around gently. Lily giggled, the sound like music. That evening, Captain Williams came by one last time. His unit was moving on to help other communities hit by the storm. "I wanted to say goodbye," he said, "and to give you this." He handed Rachel a folded piece of paper. She opened it to find a list of names. Every soldier from the convoy with their email addresses. "They all wanted you to have their contact information," Williams explained. "They want to know how Lily's doing. And Peterson, well, he asked me to tell you he'd like to send birthday cards if that's okay. He's attached to your little girl." "Of course it's okay," Rachel said, hugging the paper to her chest. Please tell them all thank you. Tell them we'll never forget what they did. They know, but I'll tell them anyway. Williams shook Tom's hand. Take care of your family, Sergeant. I will, sir. Thank you for bringing them back to me. After Williams left, Rachel looked at the list of names. 15 soldiers who had stopped that morning. 15 people who had cared enough to help a stranger in desperate need. She thought about that frozen night, standing on that empty road, screaming into the darkness for help. She'd felt so alone, but she hadn't been alone. Help had been coming. She just had to hold on long enough for it to arrive, and she had. The morning they brought Lily home, the sun was shining. Not a single cloud in the sky. The snow had already started melting, dripping from rooftops and tree branches. It was like the world had decided to start fresh. Rachel carried Lily into the house while Tom brought their bags. Lily looked around at everything like she was seeing it for the first time. Home, she said simply, then asked to be put down. She wobbled a bit on her feet but walked to the couch and climbed up. Mama, can I watch cartoons? Rachel laughed through tears. Such a normal request, such a beautifully normal thing for a 3-year-old to ask. Yes, baby, you can watch all the cartoons you want. The first few days home were quiet. Rachel barely left Lily's side. She'd wake up several times each night just to check that her daughter was still breathing. Still fever-free, still there. Tom would find her standing in Lily's doorway at 3 a.m. just watching. She's okay, he'd whisper, leading Rachel back to bed. I know. I just need to see for myself. Tom understood. He did the same thing when Rachel wasn't looking. The community support was overwhelming. Every day someone brought food. The neighbors shoveled their driveway without being asked. Mrs. Chen from down the street brought homemade soup. The Rodriguezes, once their basement was fixed, dropped off a care package with movies and coloring books for Lily. Peterson made good on his word. A card arrived for Lily with a drawing he'd made himself of a superhero girl with a cape. Inside he'd written in careful handwriting, "To the bravest girl I know. Get well soon. Your friend Peterson." Lily insisted they hang it on the refrigerator. Every soldier who wrote or sent something got a place of honor in their home. Hayes called once a week to check in. Just making sure my tough little patient is doing okay, she'd say. She and Rachel talked for hours sometimes. About military life, about being apart from loved ones, about that night. I keep thinking about what would have happened if you hadn't come, Rachel admitted during one call. But we did come. That's what matters. And honestly, Rachel, I think you would have found a way. You wouldn't have given up. I wanted to. Right before dawn, I wanted to give up so badly. But you didn't. That's the thing about real strength. It's not about never being afraid or never wanting to quit. It's about staying when everything in you says to go. Those words stuck with Rachel. A month after they came home, Captain Williams called. His unit was being honored at a ceremony, and he wanted the Bennett family there. You're part of this story, he said. We'd like you to be there to tell it. Rachel's first instinct was to say no. She didn't want attention. Didn't want to stand in front of people and relive that night. But Tom squeezed her hand. I think we should go. I think people need to hear what happened. Not for us, but for others who might be in similar situations someday. So 3 weeks later, they drove to the base. Lily, now fully recovered and bouncing with energy, was thrilled to see her soldiers again. The ceremony was held in a large hall filled with military personnel and families. Rachel felt out of place at first, but then Peterson spotted them and waved enthusiastically. Hayes came over and scooped Lily into a hug. Look at you. All better. Hayes beamed. I'm all better, Lily announced proudly. The doctor said so. Captain Williams welcomed them warmly. The media is here, he warned Rachel gently. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. But if you're willing, I think your words would mean a lot. Rachel looked at Tom. He nodded encouragingly. Okay, she said. I'll try. The ceremony began with military precision. Various awards and commendations were given out. Then Williams took the podium to speak about the convoy's disaster relief mission. But today, I want to focus on one particular rescue, he said, because it represents the core of what we do and why we do it. He told the story. The storm, the mother and child waiting in the freezing darkness, the convoy's arrival, the race to the hospital. Rachel listened to her own story told from his perspective and hardly recognized it. He made her sound so brave, so heroic. And now, William said, I'd like to invite Mrs. Rachel Bennett to share her experience in her own words. Rachel's legs shook as she walked to the podium. The room was full of people, all looking at her. She gripped the sides of the podium and looked out at the faces. Peterson gave her an encouraging smile. Hayes gave her a thumbs up. Tom held Lily and mouthed, "You've got this." Rachel cleared her throat. "I'm not good at public speaking," she started. "I'm just a mom. Just a regular person." That night I was terrified. I'd never been so scared in my entire life. My daughter was dying and I couldn't save her. I couldn't fix it. All I could do was stand there in the cold and hope. She paused, collecting her thoughts. When I saw those headlights, I thought I was hallucinating. I thought maybe I'd frozen to death and was dreaming. But then Peterson jumped out of that truck and I knew it was real. Help had come. And it wasn't just help. It was kindness. It was compassion. Every single soldier treated my daughter like she was their own. They treated me like I was family. Her voice cracked. She took a breath. Captain Williams said I was brave, but I don't think I was. I was just a mother who refused to lose her child. The brave ones are standing in this room right now. The people who stop when someone needs help. The people who go toward danger instead of away from it. The people who serve others even when it's hard, even when it's cold, even when they're tired. She looked directly at the convoy members seated in the front rows. You saved my daughter's life. You saved mine too, and you gave me something else. You gave me hope. You showed me that in the darkest moments when everything seems impossible, good people still exist. Heroes still show up. You showed up for us and we will never, ever forget that. The room erupted in applause. Rachel wiped her eyes and returned to her seat. Tom pulled her close and kissed her temple. You did great, he whispered. After the ceremony, people lined up to talk to Rachel. Other military spouses shared their own stories of community support. Veterans thanked her for recognizing their service. Young soldiers told her they were inspired, but the most meaningful moment came when a young woman approached her nervously. She was holding a baby, maybe 6 months old. "Mrs. Bennett, I'm Corporal Mitchell. I wanted to tell you something. I've been struggling lately, being a mom and being in the military, trying to balance everything. I've thought about quitting. But hearing your story, seeing how the community rallied around you, it reminded me why I joined, to be part of something bigger. To be there when people need help. Thank you for that reminder." Rachel hugged her, this stranger who had shared something so personal. "Thank you for serving. And thank you for being honest about how hard it is. We need more people willing to admit that." As they drove home that evening, Lily fell asleep in her car seat. Rachel watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Do you ever think about that night?" Tom asked quietly. "Every day," Rachel admitted, "but not in a bad way anymore. I think about how close we came to losing everything. But I also think about everything we gained. All the people who came into our lives because of it. Hayes and Peterson and the captain. The neighbors who showed up. The community that rallied. We almost lost everything, but instead we found out how much good exists in the world." "I wish I'd been there," Tom said, his voice heavy with old guilt. "You were deployed. You were doing your job. And when you could be here, you were. That's all anyone can do." 6 months later, on Lily's 4th birthday, their house was full of people, family, friends, neighbors, and in the middle of it all, Peterson, Hayes, and 3 other soldiers from the convoy, now friends for life. Peterson had brought Lily a superhero cape. "Because you're the superhero," he told her. Lily wore it all day, running around the yard with her cape flying behind her. Rachel stood on the porch watching her daughter play, so full of life and energy. She thought about that frozen night, about standing in the darkness, about screaming for help. She'd been answered, not in the way she expected, not in the time she'd hoped for, but she'd been answered. And standing there in the warm afternoon sun, surrounded by people who cared, watching her healthy daughter laugh and play, Rachel understood something profound. The worst night of her life had led to some of the best days. The moment she almost lost everything had taught her to appreciate everything she had. Tom came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. Rachel leaned back against him and smiled. "I'm thinking about how lucky we are, how blessed, how that terrible night brought all these beautiful people into our lives." She paused, watching Peterson teach Lily how to do a superhero pose. "I'm thinking that sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest lights. You just have to hold on long enough to see the sunrise." From inside, someone called that it was time for cake. Lily came running, cape streaming behind her, grabbing her mother's hand. "Come on, Mama. Birthday cake!" Rachel let herself be pulled along into the warmth, into the light, into the beautiful life they'd fought so hard to keep. She'd waited all night in the cold. But the sunrise had come, and it had brought everything she needed.